In the activity of man, we perceive first and foremost the great binary, spirit, matter. Man spiritually lives on the plane of ideas. On the other hand, he expresses himself on the physical plane, material that is, in the region where the perceptions are realized by the reaction of the senses to concrete or material objects. Our first effort on the path to self-initiation will be to neutralize the above binary spirit matter we have just mentioned. What asks to link the spirit with matter? What might be the passing from the plane of ideas to the plane of concrete objects? We will reply, the plan with which energy determines the forms. Here is the outline of our stepped ternary: spirit, energy, matter, ideas, forms, material objects. We will call this intermediate plane astral, and to the extremes we will give the names mental and physical. The transition from the mental plane to the astral is accomplished by the process of grouping, juxtaposing, summing up, or expressing ourselves more exactly, the process of progressive condensation of ideas, governed by the great law of the individualization of the collectivities shown above. If, for a general idea of a polygon, we add the idea of equality of length of its lines, we will devise a new, more condensed, more precise idea of a regular polygon. Compare this idea with the idea of number 4. This will produce the idea of a square, which you are already inclined to attribute to the plane of forms. Similarly, we can move from the astral plane to the physical. A metal disc fixed on its axis will not scratch a diamond, but if upon the same disc we impose a rapid circular movement, or in other words, increase the amount of its kinetic energy, or even concentrate on its new astral properties, then it will scratch the diamond. Thus, by the condensation of the astral can be modified the purely physical properties, in this case the hardness of the periphery of the disc. The passage from the astral to the physical took place, although only partially. If one concentrates on the desire for a person in another room to perform a certain action, this concentration will consist in a condensation of ideas into images, that is, forms. Holding these forms in the imagination, or in other words, condensing the desired movement, is performed. There will be a demonstration accessible to the senses, thus belonging to the physical plane. Here we have a direct analogy with our first example. It may be objected that in the first example the immobile disc already possessed a certain degree of hardness, a physical property, and that by the condensation of the astral, this degree of hardness was only increased. That in the second example, the magnetizer not only used his imagination, but also controlled your breathing according to defined rules, and perhaps even performed one or another movement with the body, momentary or continuous, rhythmic or not. To these objections we can answer with the alchemical aphorism, to make gold, you must have gold. This is the law which governs most of the processes taking place in the field of manifestations. We are not required to recreate the universe, nor do we know how long it would take to do that. It is sufficient that we take a foothold in the achievements already made. We are similar to the man who throws small crystals into a saturated solution to cause a rapid crystallization of the same solution. Most of the magical operations carried out have the same characteristic, an appropriate choice of points of support. We do not have an understanding of the coagulation mechanism. We only know how to use the machine that already exists. We can, by the intense and persevering effort of the intellect and the will, choose between machines the most simple and effective, but the construction of the same is not our subject. For this, as we will learn later, there are special entities known under the name of angels within the limits of the mental plane, spirit as directors in the astral plane, and elementals on the physical plane. Each has a function. Thus we will try to distinguish throughout the universe and in each of the elements that compose it, even if it is approximately, the spheres of the three planes, mental, astral, and physical. They interpenetrate each other but can be studied separately. In man, consequently, we discern three component elements: mens, or spirit, anima, or soul, also called the astral body or astrosome, and finally, corpus, or the physical body. If the man engages in intellectual work, we will say that mens and anima in him are more active than corpus. If the passionate life or the work of the pure imagination prevails, active or passive, the preponderance belongs to the anima, and so on. We will assume that the mens of man coagulating determined his soul or anima, that this soul coagulating had taken the materialized, though quite subtle, elements delivered by the parents of a reference point in the physical plane, manages to create a physical body for itself, both for uterine and external life. According to the already planned form, the soul sustains the functions of the physical body, repairing its damage. To speak of how the mens directs the function of the soul, and how it also seeks eventually to repair it, would be too soon. That is what I wanted to dwell on in this lecture. I will add only one thing. Nothing prevents us from replacing our rough ternary division of the universe and of man on the other, more detailed, in which the planes already enumerated will be divided into subplanes. We will soon be forced to do this.